hello, FPL managers. You are welcome to another edition of the FPL Ambassador Show, episode 65, getting ready for double game week 23. And I'm glad to tell you that Marlvin is back. Managers, you have been asking of Marlvin all throughout this game week. Marlvin, welcome back and Happy New Year, shall we?
Happy New Year. Thank you. Thank you so much to be back on the show. I know I've been away for a while. It all has to do with my work schedule, but always good to be back on the show. And thank you for having me once again, even though I've been a runaway brother, if I should put it that way.
Sure. And Rowland, my usual partner, corporate is here. As Rowland, I've seen you many times. So Rowland, how are you? I know that you're in a hideout just to be today's.
Well, I'm not. Well, I couldn't get home early enough for the show, so I've had to park somewhere and just under someone's show.
These are the sacrifices as FPL managers we have to make. We try to do everything to make content for our fellow managers to excel as well. And I'm very glad to say that we have in our midst an elite 1,000 top K and 1,000 manager, a 4-time top K finisher. In fact, I have finished in the top 10K just once. My aim is that I'll have multiple top K finishes. And the host of burning questions on Fantasy Football Scout and official FPL panelist on the FPL show of the Premier League in our midst today, and the person of PRAS. Hello, PRAS. Glad to have you here in our midst today.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for a very kind introduction. I mean, doing well in FPL is no big thing. I'm playing for 10 years. So, look, I mean,
wow,
it's great. It's great to be on the show. It's great to connect with people who are doing content, and happy to sort of discuss what's coming up.
Yes, so I can say confidently that this is the perfect week for us to all be on, because we were all on Rashford triple captaincy and on massive green arrows. I can say so happily that I have been struggling for a very long while this season. Before this game week, I was around 911K worldwide, and my rank has more than halved, and I've jumped up to 432K, and I'm so happy. I'm in the very best of mood today as well, and it's a very wonderful time to be here. Marlvin, how was your game week 22, and how happy are you to be on the show after a long sabbatical?
I mean, it's always
already giving you.
It's always good to come on the show when you've got a green arrow, and you've got a great green arrow, and you've played your chip and it's gone well. I think I was, of course, like all of us, one of the people who was on the Rashford triple captaincy. I didn't do the Haaland. I think there was a Haaland bandwagon of triple captaincy, I think, a few weeks back, which I wasn't so keen on at that time. But with Rashford being on form and him playing Leeds and Crystal Palace, I just thought that was a perfect opportunity for me to put the triple captaincy on him and then see what happens. And gave me a cool 60 points. So yes, I'm glad about that.
So then, Rowland, how are you? And how was the triple captaincy like? Oh, Rowland is frozen. Marvin, is he frozen?
I think
yeah, so my network keeps going on and off. But anyway, can you guys?
We can hear you. Flow. We'll manage it. Rowland, feel free to talk. Don't worry. You speak. We'll hear it. And the good thing is that the replay would always adjust all the sounds.
Rather unfortunate. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I'm sure you are asking about, even though I didn't hear the question, I'm thinking you are asking about how the game week went, right?
Yes, yeah. Yes, exactly. About how the game week went. Okay, I think Rowland's connection is a bit is disturbing a bit today. So, PRAS, I know you on the Rashford triple captaincy as well. How was the game?
Yeah, baby. It was good, man. I mean, look, it turned out to be a good decision. Ultimately, I was also looking at Haaland game week 20. And, at the back of my mind was that if I don't triple captain Haaland in 20, at least I have 23 as a backup, and maybe the Man United double comes, because at that time it wasn't confirmed. So when the Man United double dropped and seeing Rashford in the form, it was still scary, right? I mean, you're backing against Haaland, who's going to probably score 300 points this year. But to do it when Rashford gets 3 returns is just really great. So I'm very happy. Crossed 100 points for the game week, which is always great feeling. So happy, and I think the comeback is on, because before the World Cup I was having a really, really tough time. I had captained Salah in game week 9, which was terrible when Haaland got 5 returns. I also had this debacle with captaining Cancelo for his red card. So it was just going downhill. And then since the break, it's been a lot better.
A lot better. That's great. Very, very true as well. So I have been monitoring. I think about 2 months ago, you made a post about how to get to top 10K from 1 million rank. And I can see that it is really on course. And I'm also monitoring and watching you, though I'm a little bit behind. I'm also, my target now is the top 50K. I think top 10K might be just a little bit too much for me, but it's great that we are all having such a very good game week there. Okay, Rowland and Marlvin, any observation apart from the triple captaincy? Any key observation from the week before we move to the new
just
week?
Even something to add on. I think this year, maybe PRAS might be the best person to say, but I think this year the points are really close together. So it's not too much of a stretch. I think we've got almost most parts of the second parts of the season to go, and I think once you play your cards right, I still think there's a good leap for us, and not just us 3 of us, but for FPL managers out there who think they might have had a bad start. I know so many managers who have had a bad start, and then come the end, they've really done well. So, as the saying goes, it's not how you start, but how you finish. So, I think there's still hope for so many FPL managers out there. Yeah.
Sure. That's very true. So just reminding managers to join the league. We have a league we are playing. Last year with the winner of the league, that is Nielsen Bannerman, had 1,000 Ghana. We believe that managers can be given some little rewards as well. So it's open to all. It's free to join us at now. Just that the code is up there. So I2G9ZF, and then join, and just make sure you subscribe to the channel and help grow as well. So before we move to our main, we'll have a quick video from our sponsor PRAS, and then we'll zoom into the main discussion for the week. Okay, so that's from our sponsors, West Engineering Services. They are into borehole and any construction services, so you can contact them for any key things concerning construction. So Rowland, these are your key players for this week, and why do you have chosen these players as your key players for this week, aside having the double game weekends? Why are you looking at these players as your key players for double game week 23?
Okay, so looking at, it's we sometimes get carried away by double game week players, and then we lose sight of the single game week players. So Kepa has been really good over the past few weeks, getting a number of points, but I decided to go against him and go for Navas instead. I think he had a good debut against Leeds. He's shown what a top professional he is coming into that team. And I think somewhere around last week, I was telling you about how Nottingham Forest are looking good when it comes to the defensive aspect. They are not conceding goals as they used to. And, they used to be the whipping boys of the Premier League. But I was telling you, I think a couple of days back, that we should watch them, because they are no longer looking that team. They are looking solidly a defensive team now. And I think Navas looks good for the goalkeeping department. Then when you look at Chelsea don't concede that many big chances, so it's not that bad. Thiago Silva, I've gone for him. And then when you look at midfield, I mean, it's been a debate on FPL Twitter between Saka and Odegaard, but Saka edges it for me because of his penalties that he's on. So in case there's a penalty, I think that Saka would rather be the better option for me. Then I look at forward. Wilson is ticking on nicely. I mean, he's a player that I've always liked to own. He does well defense. In that attacking wise, and looking at their game that they have against Bournemouth, Bournemouth has been conceding left, right, and center. They look like good prey for him. It won't be a bad game for him. Iheanacho is one of a curious case for me because when you look at Iheanacho, Brendan Rodgers hasn't given him that many opportunities to shine. But whenever this gentleman gets the opportunity to play, he does well. I don't know why he's always kept on the bench. Daka has had his time playing, Vardy has had his time playing, and we were all wondering when Iheanacho will be given an opportunity. And when he was given last weekend, I mean, he showed what he can do. So that's my differential player. And De Bruyne, I've gone in for him just because of, in Ghana, as we say, shege reasons. I just think that De Bruyne has had his rest for.
Okay, I think Roland's connection has really let him down finally at this point, but not too bad. So these are Roland key players. Roland is actually looking more of the single game weekends that managers should also look at. He say his concept is that sometimes we focus too much on the double game weekends and we forget the single game weekends. So perhaps what I'll do is I will show my players, and then Marlvin and Roland and perhaps you comment about my key players. So I have gone with Jose Sa of Wolves. Wolves are doing a very good job. They are not conceding, even though they are not scoring that much. It was surprising to see them score 3 goals against Liverpool. But Jose Sa is really doing the job, and it's really under the radar. Even though at that price point, the good thing from him is that he's doubling in double game in 25. So managers who are planning a little bit ahead can look at Jose Sa in goalkeeper, and he's facing Southampton there. And defense, I'm going with Gabriel. It's true that most managers are looking at a triple Arsenal attack, but Gabriel is one who gets involved in headers, and we know that in such games, sometimes in the very very tight games like the game against City, it might take a set piece to win a game, and it might not be surprising like Gabriel might be the one who will score the set piece goal by a header across from Saka. So Rowland Saka will also be them. And midfield, I go Mahrez over De Bruyne. I know De Bruyne is the guy when he takes the City team takes, but Mahrez, I'm sure we will see the next slide. We'll see why Mahrez is the go-to guy. It's true that Mahrez can be benched at any little opportunity or not, but I think Mahrez is easier to go to than to get De Bruyne, even as you are planning towards double game in 25. For Eddie Nketiah, I think last week against Everton was just one of those games. Don't be put off by that blank. In fact, sometimes it's always good that he gets one blank, and then those managers who will sell him, and those of us who will keep him. And then so that is it with Eddie Nketiah. And so I think on Black Box, I was watching Black Box today on replay, and then I think yesterday Mark was saying that Nonto is not a very good finisher. And just 1 minute after he said that on Black Box, Nonto scored a goal for Leeds. As was really teasing Mark on it as well. But captaincy Haaland, I don't think you can go against Haaland on a double game week. Last week he went against Haaland because it was a single game week, and then he was playing Spurs. Powers had a better, but this game week there's no need trying to go against Haaland. So PRAS and then Marlvin, any comments on our key players so far for this game week?
I mean, I think your defender, midfield, and forward pick themselves, right? Because they have a double this week. So yeah. I think Gabriel, is the standout defender this week, because from City, there's nobody who you can say will definitely start both games. And from Arsenal, there's really only Zinchenko or maybe Saliba, who you can confidently say will start both games. So I think Gabriel I like for the reasons you mentioned. Mahrez, look, I mean, I still prefer De Bruyne for the minute security. I think Mahrez probably has a goal in him, but it's also equally likely that he plays one game 61 minutes and the other game only 30 minutes. So you may not get the minutes out of him. And I think De Bruyne, people are a little bit put off by him because of the 2 benchings, even though both the benchings were against Spurs and it was a specific tactic to play both Alvarez and Haaland against the back 5. So I think if I was to pick one just on a free hit, it would be De Bruyne for me over Mahrez, but I think both are good picks. And then as a forward, I think Nketiah is a great pick. I think that you can't go wrong with, I think while Jesus is out, Nketiah will provide both goals, big chances. I mean, I think in terms of minutes per XG, he's almost matching Haaland since he's been playing. So absolutely amazing stats. He may not be a long-term pick because maybe in 5-6 game weeks, Jesus will come back. But if we're talking only for the double, I think Nketiah is a great pick.
Okay. Marlvin, any comments on my players or Rowland's players?
I think I'm sure there's a section for, because I think managers are looking at which key City assets to pick and which key Arsenal players to pick. I think some have, I think like me, I have Nketiah, Martinelli, and White. I think people are looking at doing even a sideways move from Martinelli to either Odegaard or Saka. And some are also debating whether they should go for Mahrez over De Bruyne, because of course sometimes you need to look at the caliber of the player. We're talking about De Bruyne. He hasn't been so great after the World Cup, but there are some players that they can always come into their own at any point in time. Mahrez is more of a streaky player. When he's on, he's really on, and when he's off, he's really off. And just like the Pep roulette, you never know what is going to happen. I think there's more of an advantage for De Bruyne just because I think he had his rest. Maybe he's more likely to play the next 2 games compared to someone like Mahrez. Aside that, I think your picks are decent. Of course, Captain Haaland is mostly what pretty much all the managers are going to do. More than 20% of the managers are going to do. So I think going for De Bruyne captaincy really is more of like a differential kind of captaincy, and I think only the bold can do that because Haaland is always not too far away from a hat-trick, and I think he already has 3 or 4 hat-tricks this season. I'm not too sure. Sure. So I would definitely be going for a Haaland captaincy over a De Bruyne captaincy. I think I'll play it safe over there. Yeah.
Okay. So you think we should move to the key points here. So the focus of this game week is the double for City and then Arsenal. So what is the take? So I think PRAS, you've spoken about De Bruyne over Mahrez. What would you tell to managers who still want to go Mahrez over De Bruyne?
Is that for me?
Yes, for you. Yes, PRAS.
Okay. So I don't think there's anything wrong with Mahrez as a pick, but I think De Bruyne works for me for 2 reasons. One, he gets you that safety of minutes, because you have to remember that you're not just getting De Bruyne for this week. You have to get him now for the next 2-3 weeks. And if you get him, then I think over those 2-3 weeks, he's definitely a bigger chance of getting more minutes than Mahrez. And then he also gives you an easy route to a Salah in Gameweek 25, who also has a double, similar price. So this is why I think if you make money now for De Bruyne, you're almost also making money for Salah later if you wanted to go to Salah in Gameweek 25. That's basically why I think De Bruyne is there. We have to ignore the fact that he was benched, like I just mentioned 10 minutes ago. And also we have to think about the fact that if people are thinking about triple captaining Haaland, then how can De Bruyne be a bad pick? Because if he starts both games, he's the one creating those chances for De Bruyne, for Haaland. So I like it. I think he will get maybe 1 or 2 assists over the double and then give you good minutes assurity until game week 25. Mahrez could get you a goal, but then maybe also not play one of the games. So this is the tricky bit.
Okay. That's that's very true. So it's more or less like you decide your preference, whether you want to go for the upside or you want to go for safety, and then thinking about double game of 25 all in the picture as well. So whichever would suit your team is what you should make as a manager, right?
Exactly.
And I think
good.
Sorry, Ray, if I can just chip in here, I think some people might look at the opportunity of actually doing the double up. Because I know some teams who have De Bruyne and can easily double up with the Mahrez. I think that's also not a bad route, because some people don't, let's say, they don't have City defender, so they can possibly do the Haaland, De Bruyne and Mahrez movement as well, which I mean is not I don't think is so bad. So I mean, people or managers who have the opportunity can also go for that.
Okay, great. So Roland, would having spoken about De Bruyne and Mahrez, would you think about going double City attack or triple City attack? So like as Marlvin is talking about, having De Bruyne, Mahrez, and then Haaland, or you think that just two of them is okay, and then you might want to invest in other attackers, like instead of getting triple City, you get triple Arsenal. What do you think would be the way to go for managers?
So that's fully dependent on the manager, right? I, for one, I prefer to maximize all the opportunities that I have, right? Some are big risk takers. You know, some managers would prefer to have KDB, Mahrez, and Haaland. That is one I am looking at myself, right? Okay. Instead of having maybe an Ake or an Akanji, instead of the triple attack. But like Marlvin is also sharing his views, PRAS has also shared his views. I think that maybe you'd want to be a bit conservative if you don't want Mahrez to, to have Mahrez in your team. But I, for one, it's something that I'm really looking at. I think that having Mahrez in your team, even in one game, he'd be able to give you that upside that you need. Right. So City players are always, when you buy a City player, it's a risk you've taken. We know we can all be on Haaland, and for some strange reason, Pep can bench Haaland. It can happen. It's not like it can easily happen. So I think that it depends on the choice you want to make, right? But we are all for Arsenal, but Arsenal facing City is not an easy game, and Arsenal facing Brentford is not easy as well. So it's not as if you just have to load on the players because you have to load on them for loading on them sake. But I mean, you have to also be measured in it. I prefer having more City players than Arsenal players. But I believe at this point in time, every manager or most managers have 3 Arsenal, players. So it's one of both. But I will go with Mahrez, I will go with De Bruyne, and I'll go with Haaland.
Triple City attack. Okay, very spot on there. So what about the defense, PRAS? Who do you think would be the most nailed option? I know the Pep roulette is so unpredictable. Or who do you recommend for managers trying to look in defense?
It's a complete roulette, man. I mean, what can I say? Pep has gone a bit mad. I mean, these days, especially in defense. I mean, elite players like Laporte and Diaz are not even getting starts. Sure. He sold Cancelo. He's not starting Walker. I mean, this is. I just don't get it. So we have to go by what we are seeing at the moment. And what we're seeing is that Akanji plays pretty much every game since he's been signed, except for a couple of times where he was either not starting but still brought on the 45th minute. So him and Ake both look good. And Ake, especially on the left side, now that Cancelo has been sold, could be a good option. Neither of them are nailed. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them miss one game out of the 2. But this is what we have, because apart from them, they are the most nailed. Apart from them, there's nobody else. You could, Rico Lewis is an option, but he's so cheap. But he's also, likely to maybe miss one game. The other one, he gets a 45-minute or something, so he can completely disappoint you. And then other players like Laporte, Diaz are just too risky, or Walker. So I think it's between Akanji or Ake, and you just pick your poison.
Okay, sure. Like I think that is enough about Pep as well. So so whatever it is, at least you should have 2. You should have 2 City players. In the worst case, at least you have 2 City players, and it depends on how the dynamics of your team are as well. Okay, I'm sure by the time we get to our teams, looking at the variety of our teams, we'll be able to give more advice on a little bit more team specific advice on teams there. Okay, So then we'll move to Arsenal. So Eddie Nketsiah is talking about he's really been this was a tweet by Hibo FPL I think just about 2 weeks ago, talking about how Eddie Nketsiah's status as high as Haaland. He's matching Haaland as on that level, and at 6.7, he's somebody will call a priority buy into your team if you are not having the triple Arsenal from the midfield to the defense. And he's somebody managers should look at. That's my recommendation for him. So then okay, let me ask the triple Arsenal attack question, and then whoever answer would still answer whether you should sell Martinelli on the -4 or not, because it looks like for now the top three are Nketsiah, Odegaard, and then Saka, with Martinelli having dropped down there. So PRAS, what do you think? Is a triple Arsenal attack, or you think double attack and then one defense? And should managers sell Martinelli on the -4?
Well, these are very tough questions. I would say, look, the top two unquestionably are Saka and Odegaard, right? So if they are your top two, and you have them, then I think going Nketsiah as well, you don't have to. So that's the first thing. So let's say, but if you already have Nketsiah and you have Saka, or you have Nketsiah and you have Odegaard, then getting that third with Saka could be great. So I like triple attack a lot. In fact, I am myself debating if I should shift to a triple attack, which we can talk about when we come to our teams.
Okay.
So, but having said that, I think if you wanted to stick to a defender, I think Arsenal's defensive numbers are still very good. So there's no problem staying with a defender. My only issue is that White is getting increasingly peripheral. He didn't have a good game against Everton. He was subbed off on the 45th minute against Man United. So there's a chance that in the next 5 games, when you have these 2 doubles, that he misses one for Tomiyasu. So if you're sitting on Gabriel, or you go for Gabriel or Zinchenko, I think that's a much better shout. But if you're sitting on a White and you have the ability to move White onto a triple attack, I think then I like that.
Sure. So what about selling Martinelli on the -4? You think managers should consider selling on the -4?
It's tough, man. I mean, I was one of the first people in game week 8 to sell Martinelli, when everybody was like, oh my God, this is a shock. How can you sell Martinelli? And at the time I got Harvey Barnes. I don't know if people remember that. He did great for me. He actually outscored Martinelli for a big period of time. And then, so because I didn't have any value after the World Cup, I never got Martinelli. I just got Saka directly. So for me, I never had Martinelli since the World Cup, and it's turned out to be really, really good. For people who have him, I think time has come, because you're not going to get 5 starts out of 5 from him. It'll be unlikely. And even if you got it, he will be subbed off on the 60th minute, sometimes on the 55th minute, sometimes on the 80th minute. So I think if you take a long-term view, maybe it's worth it to getting rid of him. When it's for a hit, I get a little bit more skeptical. I mean, my management style, it's a little bit more conservative, and I don't really advocate for hits unless you really need to. So maybe you can delay it this week and just keep Martinelli, because the second game is anyway against Man City, and then you deal with it later. Or you just want to get rid of it now and deal with it. I also understand that. So it's a little bit of a 50-50 answer from me on Martinelli for -4.
Okay. Marlvin, what's your take?
So I think what PRAS said, I think we need to look more at the long-term view now. We know Arsenal has a double game week now. They have a double game week. I think it's in 25.
Yeah, game week 25, double game week against Everton, and I think
So right now, I mean, with the January window, Arsenal have gotten Trossard. Trossard normally comes in for Martinelli, and that is why, as PRAS said, Martinelli has been going off on the 80th or whatever on the 59th minute, which is normally the most annoying. So I think if you're a bit unsure and you want to make the move to either Saka or Odegaard, I think with a long-term view, I would encourage managers to do it. Also, I think one thing that's would be the defining factor for managers choosing between Odegaard and Saka one of the things might also be the money that they actually have in the bank. I don't think it's everyone who can, because Saka, of course, is highly priced than Odegaard. So what managers might need to look at is, of course, if your money can't reach Saka, then definitely you'll be going to Odegaard. That's one. However, if your funds can reach, then of course you have more of a debate. I think if you look at the underlying numbers, I think each and every one of them have their plus and their minuses. I think Odegaard's overall play, of course, is excellent. He gets into the box, not more than Saka, of course. I think the advantage that Saka has is that he's on pens, and he's also on some set pieces, and more of corners actually. But Odegaard is on set pieces. So I mean, they all have their plus and their minuses. One is possibly better in maybe expected goal involvement, but the other is better than expected goal. So, I mean, for even some managers, is a toss of a coin. Do you get what I mean? So, if you are more driven towards the one who is maybe is on penalty kicks and that has that in their locker, then maybe you might be driven more towards Saka. But if you are more impressed with the one who is involved in pretty much everything in how Arsenal ticks and how Arsenal plays, and because I think there's so much value tied in Odegaard as well if you can't reach Saka. So I mean, it's a very difficult one. That's why I mean it's very difficult for you to conclude. But I think it might be a toss of a coin. Just go with your guts, and then sometimes FPL is about just going with your guts and just choose your player and then just go with it.
Go with it there. Sure. So Roland, I'll throw the first question to you. So as now,
okay,
Gabriel, assuming a manager wants to do double Arsenal attack and then get one defender between Gabriel, White, and then Jenko, which of them do you think manager should buy? And then assuming the manager has White, Ben White, should they swap him for another defender? Do they decide this move or they should just keep Ben White there?
yes. So I think that, you know, when it comes to my style of play, it's all about having defenders who get you attacking points. The clean sheets for me are usually the bonus. So if I'm to choose between a White, Gabriel, and a Zinchenko, I'll go for Zinchenko first of all, because he plays out wide. I mean, he plays further up forward. Maybe the corners and set pieces may favor Gabriel, but looking at the all-round play, you know, Zinchenko will be bombing forward, up and down the flanks, you know, throughout the whole game. So for me, Zinchenko will be my first choice, followed by Gabriel. White is, I mean, like PRAS has said, as Marlvin has also mentioned, it's very obvious that, you know, Tomiyasu is on his back, and he hasn't been playing too well of late. And Arsenal has been struggling a bit defensively. I mean, but for Ramsdale, they would have conceded a number of goals. I mean, they've had a lot of shots peppered at their goal for the past few games that they've played. And it's quite obvious that you need a defender who can get you an attacking return. White is not that attacking, you know, so it makes it a bit difficult. And I would easily sell White for Gabriel or Zinchenko, right? It makes it easier for me to know that in the long run, I'm getting a return out of it, rather than holding on to him and having the hope that he may perform well in one game and those who sold him will have that regret. I don't believe in that. I mean, over a 5-6 game week period, I expect that a Gabriel or a Zinchenko will do better than him. And you know how I feel about attacking players. Martinelli is a gunner for me, right? Maybe this week I'll keep him, but after this week I think he's gone, because Trossard is I mean, he's hitting hard on his neck. I believe that one of the 2 game weeks that they have, I mean, one of the 2 games that they have this game week, I believe he will be benched. I strongly believe that he'll be benched in one of the game weeks, or he wouldn't play as many minutes. And we've seen that Arteta is beginning to behave like Pep, where 45 minutes he takes off a player, 58 minutes he takes off a player. So you'll want a player with a surety of minutes. And Saka gives you that. Odegaard gives you that. Nketsiah will give you that until Jesus comes back. So that's what I have to say about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So just 2 things to add.
Okay, Marvin.
I think what managers shouldn't try and do is, I think a lot of us possibly have, for example, 3 Arsenal players now. Some may have like a White and maybe a midfielder and a striker. I think between now and, let's say, Gameweek 25 and all of that, I think transfers are going to be precious. I don't think this is the time for you to be trying to move from a White to if you've got your White, I think you've made your bet, just lay with it. I don't think there's a time for you to be moving from a White to maybe trying to get an attacking player, because your transfers are going to be precious. And I think I can guarantee with us, I'm quite sure that we are really going to be taking some hits in the weeks ahead because of the way in which Gameweek 25 has been sprung on us as a double game week and all of that. I think a minimum of -4 is really going to be something that we will really be doing, because we're trying to get as much players that we think can give us as much points as possible. So I think points transfer are going to be very precious. If you've got 3 attacking Arsenal, if you've got 3 attacking Man City, don't try and maneuver it to maybe it's like you're moving another City player for another City player. I think the transfers are very precious in the game weeks coming out. So if you're a manager, if you've made your bet, you lay in it. It's very likely that you sell a Martinelli and then he actually scores. And then you did a -4 for an Odegaard, and maybe also gets an assist or something. I think it's not really worth it. So I think managers should have that at the back of their mind when you are doing their transfers as well, because you might have 3 Arsenal, 3 City, and now you're trying to do a hokey of trying to get this better, better City or better Arsenal player, and then because transfers are going to be precious in these game weeks.
Any final words on Arsenal before we look at the helicopter view?
I mean, I slightly disagree with Marlvin there, but it's look, I just think that when you have 2 double game weeks in 3 game weeks, like Arsenal have 5 games coming up, then I think it's worth fixing a problem, because the -4 will, basically, if you're getting 5 games out of in 3 game weeks, it has a higher chance of giving you points back. I mean, look at some people who had in this week, they took -8s or whatever, and they scored 114 points. And I'm not saying it will always happen, but I think you would rather regret not doing it and feel that I didn't go for the best 3 Arsenal players. Because remember, we're not going for the best 3 Arsenal players for this week. It's for the double in game week 25. It's for the blank game week in game week 28. I know we're going to come to it in helicopter view. Okay. So you are now picking your Arsenal players for a very long time. And so they have a very long time to repay the hit. But I completely agree with you also in some sense that it can backfire badly. Like Martinelli against Man City scored 10 points because he likes playing against.
Please continue. I think there was a little. Hello, Pras. Do you finish your point? Yes.
Yeah, I finished. Yeah. So basically, I think it will be worth it if you really think that it's the certain player is a risk. Of course, if Martinelli is playing 90 minutes, there's absolutely no way you need to be doing that, or even 70, 80 minutes and starting every game. There's no need to do it. But I don't think he does.
Okay, so I think Pras is making a very key point for managers. So normally we wouldn't recommend doing the sideways move on a -4, but looking at how Arsenal are playing double game week in 23 and then 25, and then are also most likely going to play in 28. Looking at actually playing in 28, you are making the move over a long term. So it's better you sort out the problem once and for all, and then just make sure you have the 3 best Arsenal players. So just someone will say Rowland will say weigh your risk appetite. If you're a manager who thinks that maybe selling him on a -4, I think it will be bad. You just wait and then do it next week. But if you think there's a time to do it and then move on from there. Sure. Exactly. Then okay. So Pras, I have the ticker for Lego Mane's own, and then I have Ben Crellin's own. Which one do you think would be much appropriate for you to give us the helicopter view going forward?
I always use the Lego Mane one, so that's good.
Okay, sure. Okay. So so before Pras speaks, so to inform managers, we have a double game week 23, which we are all quite conversant about, and then we have a blank game week 25 with Man U Newcastle blanking because of the Carabao Cup final, and then their opponents Brentford and Brighton are also blanking. That is why managers have been put off buying Mitoma for a while, and Mitoma has just been giving the points to those who have bought him ahead of time as well. But then the blank game 25 was just confirmed 2 days ago as a double game week for Arsenal, who face Leicester and then Everton, a very good double game week. And then Liverpool, Salah going to be back on our radar, who are facing Palace and Wolves, and then Everton, who face Villa and then Arsenal, and then Wolves, who face Fulham and then Liverpool. So, Pras, what's your take, and how should managers plan going forward from now to game week 2028 and beyond?
So this is a very tricky time. And as you remember last year, this is the time when if you're really focused and you plan well, then there's some big rank improvements because some people who are not obsessed with FPL like us, they don't really know, and they suddenly reach game week 25 and they realize, oh my god, Mitoma is not playing. All my triple Newcastle, triple Man United, none of them have games. So they either panic free hit or they take multiple hits. So this is the edge. Apart from picking good players and doing your homework, also planning is I mean, at least the way I play, it's my biggest edge. So I think how people need to look at it is Arsenal is the priority at the moment, because they will have the double, as I said, in 23, in 25, and then a game in 28. So game week 28 is at the last column here. And game week 28 is also the time when it's the FA Cup quarterfinal. So any team that makes the FA Cup quarterfinal will not have a game in game week 28. And we know that Arsenal are out of the FA Cup. We know that Chelsea is out of the FA Cup. And Newcastle is out of the FA Cup. So teams like those are good picks for the long term, except Newcastle, who have a blank in 25. So these are things you need to remember. So let's say, for example, you're thinking about game week 25. You need to think, who are the players that I want to bench in game week 25 because I want to keep them long term? I think Trippier is one of them. I think Rashford is another one of them. And then you can think of maybe Mitoma if you have him, or you can maybe think about Shaw, or maybe have a non-playing player, right? I mean, maybe you're stuck with a Greenwood or a Patterson or somebody else. So,
Okay.
and then think about the rest of your team. What is the composition of the rest of your team? How can you maneuver from what you have at the moment? Definitely have 3 Arsenal at the end of this game week. Definitely have 2 or 3 City. And then by game week 24, 25, take out the blankers. Take out Bruno Fernandes. Take out Shaw. Take out maybe even a second Newcastle defender if you have, and move them towards the people who double in game week 25, which is Liverpool, for example. If you chose to do that, you could move to Everton. You could go for a Tarkowski in defense, for example, because Everton will definitely have a double in 25, and they will definitely have a game in game week 28. So it's things like that that you need to keep in mind as you go towards. And one other thing to say is, as you approach game week 25, we will not know who is blanking in game week 28, because the FA Cup round 5 happens after the game week 25 deadline. So you will have to sort of hedge sometimes, because you don't know if Fulham has a game or if Salah has a game in game week 28. So that's about it.
I think that's a very key point there. So just to end on what you said, managers should look on delaying their transfers, no early transfers. Just like how this week, all of a sudden, the double game was just thrown to us as well. So just as much as possible, even in 24, try and bank the transfer, because it gives you more, it gives the opportunity to have more information. And now you have more information, assuming some much new information comes into us, then you can be able to make your next transfers as well. So Marlvin, any point to make that? Or Rowland, will you make a point there? Then I think maybe you might want to take a leave from us. Rowland. If not, then Marlvin.
I think PRAS has rightly said everything. I think planning pretty much is key at this stage of the season. And I think really there's nothing to add to what he said. So I think planning is key. And I think we just have to take it from there. As you said, hold your transfers as long as possible. And then, just try and maneuver. I think he said the key players is Arsenal, because they have a double in 25 and they also play in 28 as well. So I think having the 3 Arsenal players definitely is very important. And then try and maneuver and play and plan ahead as much as possible.
Sure. As at last week, I had my plan on how to move from 23 to 25. But now that the double game week 25 has come, I've had to adjust it as well. So managers, don't be very stuck in your plans as well. Be flexible, and then make sure that your team is flexible, so that in case of any new information, you're able to adjust your teams appropriately as well. But the key thing is that this week the focus is on how do you call it? Arsenal and then City. And then after this game week 24, you can decide to bank the transfer, and then so that in the blank game 25, you have 2 transfers, and you can even take a -4 then. So that is the plan for managers. So there's no need to make any key transfer in 24. So just monitor, and managers should stop chasing the price rises. This is the time of the season whereby there's no need to get any price rise, especially when we are having a lot of budget players who are doing the very good job as managers. So that's one thing for us to note. Roland, please, if you are there, just say hi to me so that I know, so that I pick your team, and then you can go.
I think he said he's on his way.
On his way. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So he will try and join in.
Sure. So managers, what we'll do is we'll keep this sticker and be updating it as and when any new changes come as well for us. Okay, good then. So this is Roland's team. So I think Roland is officially off. Roland, if you are still there, can say hi. If not, then I'll just move. So Marlvin, this is your team. This was your team that you celebrated with Rashford. Now this is the core of the team. Now, what are your plans for this week, and what are you doing? Hello, Marvin. Can you hear me? Okay, I think Marvin's connection is not the best. So Marvin. Okay, PRAS. So this is your team. Hello.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm here.
So this is your team. I took a shot of it from how you had it going into Gameweek 22. So what are you doing, and how are the plans at now?
So I am looking at taking out Fernandes. It could be just for Mahrez, so that would give me 3 City and 3 Arsenal.
Okay.
And I would look to do Fernandes to Mahrez if, for example, Pep says tomorrow in the press conference that Foden is out. So that would basically eliminate any competition for Mahrez. He could still play Bernardo Silva on the right, but I think it would give me a lot more assurance. The other option is what I'm thinking is what I mentioned earlier, which is do Bruno Fernandes and Ben White to Akanji or Ake to give me 3 City. And because I've released the third Arsenal spot, I can go for Odegaard. So that would give me the 3 Arsenal that I like, which is Saka, Odegaard, and Nketiah. And then from City, I have De Bruyne, Haaland, and Ake or Akanji. So I know Ake and Akanji are not the best, but then neither is Mahrez. And if I can get Odegaard, I think I prefer Odegaard to Mahrez because I will keep Odegaard for a very long time. So, and my thinking about triple attack is basically that these are the guys who, if Arsenal will score a goal, I will get points. So I hope that in the next 5 game weeks or in the next 8 game weeks until game week 28, they score lots of goals. And every time they score, with people coming off Martinelli, I should basically profit from anything that they do. So that's the hope. I mean, of course, they could end up keeping 2 clean sheets and then I would sort of regret the move. But for me, those are the best 3.
I don't think Arsenal will keep a clean sheet against City. I know that game is going to be cagey, even though it's also can be a 0-0 or it can be maybe a 2-1 or something like that. It's the most painful thing is losing the clean sheets when you have invested so much in your player for a double game week. So
yeah.
I'm not sure. Okay, so Marvin, I think Marvin also has a slight challenge in his connection. So
am I on?
Sorry. Okay, yes, you're on. Great to have you back just on time. So that's PRAS team. So Marvin, this is your team. You had 151k. What are you doing this game week?
Okay, so just before I go into my my game week, I mean, you have people like PRAS who, I remember when PRAS did the captaincy of Salah and then Haaland, and people of course did the Haaland captain. PRAS was way back. I mean, I wasn't back, but PRAS was way back, and then now he's already on 193. He already has everything planned out. I'm at 151. I'm already feeling nervous because I feel like come the next game week, it'll be like the other way around. But anyway, for I am on it's 2 things I'm thinking about. So I'm currently on Fernandes. I think I'm going to check. I think I've got like 4.4 million in the bank. I was part of the people who did the KDB to Fernandes. And one option is just to do the reverse. Or what I can also do is, and of course, you guys can let me know what you think the optimal is going to be, is keep Fernandes, but I think I can do an Almiron to a Mahrez. And that still gives me the opportunity to, I'm thinking of moving Martinelli this week because I don't think I want him for the long term.
Okay.
I still have the fund to, I think, do a Martinelli to an Odegaard. I've always liked Odegaard, but I think Saka's underlying numbers are also great. So I can still do a Martinelli to an Odegaard or a Martinelli to a Saka. So, but if I do a Fernandes back to a KDB, I'll not be able to do a Martinelli to a Saka. I can only do a Martinelli to an Odegaard. So that's the dilemma in which I'm in. I still think I'm going to...
Oh, sorry. Marvin, talk. We're here. We're here with you. Okay, I think he's gone. So, PRAS, I think you picked his move.
Sorry,
sure,
did I break?
So you broke at the point, but don't worry. Continue.
Okay, yes. So, I don't know. I'm having issues. So I'm sure I'm just hotspotting my phone
I'm
again. I think
surprised.
I'm having my Wi-Fi today. Very funny. Yeah. So as I said, I'm debating between doing moving back from a Fernandes to a KDB, and that means I can do only a Martinelli to an Odegaard. I can't do a Martinelli to a Saka. However, if I do I keep Fernandes and I do an Almiron to a Mahrez, I can do a Martinelli to a Saka, or I can Martinelli to an Odegaard. So that's the dilemma which I'm in. I don't know what you guys think, or what you guys think the optimal thing will be to do.
Well, for my first question to you is, if you left, so let's say you did Saka and Mahrez, and you kept Fernandes, what will you do with the Fernandes spot in game week 25?
So I think I'll definitely move. Oh, okay, yeah. So that's okay. You have a good question, because I think that what I will do is that will put me out of getting somebody like a Salah,
exactly,
in the game week 25, and it ties my funds. So yeah, I think that's what you earlier said. If I do a KDB, it's easier to move it on to like a Salah in a game week 25. So I think I've got my answer, really.
Unless you think that I want to captain Saka in game week 25 and I'm not going to care about Salah, because again, look, by doing Fernandes to or Almiron to Mahrez and Martinelli to Saka, you're also solving because you're getting rid of a blanker. But then for Fernandes, you will struggle to find any transfers, because who will you transfer Fernandes to? Gakpo is not really an option. So you're gonna and you already have 3 Arsenal, so you can't go to Saka from him. You will end up probably looking at Fernandes and White to Odegaard and Trent or something like that. So basically, you're saying no to Salah if you go that route, and that's what you need to decide now. And this is why you need to do the forward planning and decide if you're going to say no to Salah. No problem, then go for. I like the Saka and Mahrez moves, but personally, if I was you, I would do Fernandes to De Bruyne.
Yeah, I think I can't risk not having Salah in a double game week. So yeah, that's just too risky. I'm not that of a risky manager. Yeah.
So I think PRAS is making a very good point. So managers, as you are making your transfers in game week 23 as of now, be thinking about how you will navigate game week 25. Otherwise, you get to game 25 and you're like, what do I do to my team also? So managers should just
a question based on what Matthew GH is saying in the comment section about. I mean, you guys still do Liverpool players in this season. Do you think? Because Liverpool, of course, have definitely been the same this season.
Marvin, not to cut you, Matthew GH is a strong Liverpool fan. So for him to actually say that is really
irony. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what PRAS or Raymond, what you're looking at. I mean, we might be looking to get like some Liverpool assets. I don't know whether they're looking to get 1, whether they're looking to get 2, and looking at how poor Liverpool are really. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on Liverpool assets in general, and even if you're so keen on getting Liverpool assets, even in a double game week. I know, of course, you might want to get 1 or 2, but are you really keen on them as double game week players?
I'll give you my answer. I think no. The answer is no. I'm not very keen on them, because they could also blank in game week 28 and they're not in form. So that's the biggest issue. But you have to look at double game weeks as an opportunity to make gains that people who cannot go there. So look at this week, right? Bruno Fernandes did nothing. I mean, in the first game, he had no shots. In the second game, he got a blank. I mean, he could have had an assist or something, but people walked away with 12 points because he got a penalty and he got some bonus in the first game. Double game weeks basically give you a higher probability of getting lucky. And so going for somebody who's so attacking, who's on penalties like Salah, is something that I definitely want to do. And Salah at his price is so easy then to go to anybody else in midfield who I want to afterwards. So this is why I want to give myself a route to Salah. Now, I would have said the same answer for Darwin Núñez, even though he's like, people joke about him missing, but he's getting chances. But my problem with Núñez is that if you're going for only Darwin Núñez, number one, you will not captain him, because then you will just captain Saka. You can still do that with Salah, but I'm just saying Salah gives you an alternative option. And then the second problem is because Diaz is coming back and Jota is coming back, Firmino is coming back. Suddenly, I think Núñez over a double game week is no point. Whereas on the other hand, Salah would actually maybe gets better if Jota is playing alongside him as a striker. So I want to keep that option open. Maybe he scores a brace in game week 23 or 24, and then you've left yourself taking hits to get Salah, who you don't want long term anyway. So it's just not the ideal way to plan.
Okay. First, there's a very funny comment from Matthew DH. We call him our classic writer of our FPL show. Every week he's here, even when he misses the show, he comments afterwards, and he says that the only way to make gains in a Liverpool game is to pick from their opponents. so that's from a Liverpool fan who is very disappointed in his team this season as well. So I think this is my team as well. So I made a transfer of I brought in Nketsiah yesterday night. I was like, no. Yes,
Raymond, you're telling everybody to hold transfers to wait for information.
Exactly.
So what I realized, I knew about Nketsiah, and I just wanted the games to end, and there was no injury. So when there was no injury in the games from yesterday's game, Man U against Leeds game, I knew that, okay, I didn't have any clear issue there to sort out. So just my Nketsiah move was done, and then now the dilemma is whether to go De Bruyne or to go Mahrez. But I think by my original FPL planner, transfer planner, going ahead is Mahrez that's supposed to come in. So I'm going to get Mahrez for Almiron. And my plan is, I know I'm somebody that have been benched by Mahrez by Pep several times. Almost every year when I think Mahrez is on form, I go for Mahrez and then Pep does it to me. Last year I did it, he did it to me on several, but this year, it looks like Mahrez is more assured. Somebody say the more you say he's assured, that's when Pep actually does the thing to you. But I think that looking at how Mahrez,
you're not getting Mahrez because I know when you get him, he's not going to do us.
So at my rank, I need to take some of these weeks as well. So I'll go with Mahrez there. So Mahrez for Almiron, and my second plan is that in game week 20.
Hold on.
Okay, sure. Okay.
If you get Mahrez, who are you going to bench?
So if I get Mahrez, I'll bench Fernandes. That's a very tricky one.
You're benching Bruno Fernandes.
Yes, tough.
So then why not just sell Bruno Fernandes for De Bruyne?
Yes, I want De Bruyne, but I think that the way Mahrez is playing, Mahrez is getting involved in one goal, and if Mahrez gets one goal, he just picks the form as well.
Okay, so then sell. Okay, then you can sell Bruno for De Bruyne as well. I mean, you don't need to sell Almiron. I mean, I'm just saying, benching Bruno doesn't sound great.
Yes, it doesn't sound great at all. But I also want to switch by. I think you get game 24. And then there's an injury to a player. I don't want to make any transfer in game 24. So I want to 25. I'll be able to make my transfer. So assuming there's an injury to any of my key players, at least I have a very good front eight, whereby if I just need to bench one, I'm always okay to do that. So that's my.
Who will you bench next week?
I haven't thought about that.
I think what PRAS is trying to do is just giving yourself a headache, necessary benching headache. And you know how? Do you remember last season I benched Cancelo, and you told me that never bench. Like I benched Cancelo, and I think he's got like a 12 or 15 pointer or so. So I think it's really giving yourself a benching headache.
I mean, I guess why I'm sort of questioning you is, if you're doing it for a hit, then what's the point? Because you're benching Bruno Fernandes just to get an extra game from Mahrez. It just doesn't sit right. Then you end up having to bench Bruno.
Okay. So
and if you want, I think if you want Mahrez so bad, then just do a Fernandes to a Mahrez. Or isn't that?
It will still be a -4 because I've done a Nketsiah move. So
but sorry, can you currently get a Fernandes? Can you move directly from a Fernandes to a De Bruyne currently?
Yes, I can do it, but I'm a De Bruyne guy, but as I know, I'm not fancying De Bruyne. Not because De Bruyne is not good. I just want Mahrez. I think that Mahrez is playing. I want the Mahrez points. I know Mahrez might score one goal. De Bruyne might give 2 assists. De Bruyne might get the bonus point, but I'm more inclined towards Mahrez now than De Bruyne. It's not like I don't want any of the two. That's a tough situation I'm in as of now. Or Mahrez, Marvin, what do you want to say?
Which is fine, but I'm saying that if you want Mahrez so bad and you're going to bench Fernandes, then why don't you just do a Fernandes to a Mahrez?
Fernandes to a Mahrez. I don't want Almiron. I want the guy to leave myself for all.
But he's on your bench, so
Yes, but you know, anything can happen. So I'm just making sure that in 24, assuming I don't want to make any transfer in 24. That's my key point. But I don't make any transfer in 24. I need to make sure that my team is so okay that if anything should happen in this game, I can still adjust so well because I have Patterson on my bench who is not recovered. So at least my first bench should be somebody who is good. I will not have to make. I think that's what's making pulling me towards doing the Amaron to Mahrez move. I don't know. I don't know how you think, but that's where I am as of now. Anything to convince me to still do De Bruyne?
No, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. If you don't, same discussion that we had with Marlvin, which is if you do Fernandes to Mahrez, you'll still have money in the bank left to upgrade Mahrez to Salah later. If you spread your money and you do it to Almiron, then you won't have the money later because you've spread it around. It's in Bruno and as well as so you need a hit to get to Salah. That's the only difference. So
Yes.
that's all. I mean, you know, if you feel that Mahrez is doing better, just do that. But do it with Bruno instead of Almiron.
Bruno.
But
Okay.
equally, I understand. I mean, look, next week Mahrez could get benched next game week, and you will have Bruno Fernandes playing Leicester. So it's not a bad thing. So I'm not sort of talking you out of it. I'm just giving you the pros and cons.
The pros and cons. Yeah, I think my team structure can permit me to get what's Salah's prices are now. Salah is 12 points. I have 7.3 Arnold, and then so my plan is that somewhere in what do you call it Gameweek 20, I might go Bowen and then Arnold if Liverpool are doing a very good job there. So that might be my two transfers in how do you call it Gameweek 25. But there's also a plan to get Salah as well. That's why I want to bank 24 and then going to 25. I have that flexibility of the extra transfer as well.
Fair.
Sure. Okay. I think we'll then try and wrap it. So talking about our team, so managers, you can look at how we've talked about discussed about how to go. But the key point is triple Arsenal essentials are now, and at least double City as well. So our FPL Ambassadors League finally for the very first time since we started doing this show for 2 good years, I've entered the top 10. If I'm not even top 10, I'm top 11 in the whole league, and I'm very happy to be there. Marvin, the first time all the three of us are in the top 10. So the plan is that this year we want to defend our own title. If they're able to defend it, we are keeping our money to ourselves. If someone's able to beat us, then we'll dash the money to the person as well. So this year we are trying to do our best. But just as PRAS has said, the points are very, very close. You can see that from the first year down here, it's just about maybe 60 points. That is how the ranks are. So this season, we've not gotten to even half of the FPL season. So managers, just take your time, do your transfers, and then you're able to make very good moves there. So in wrapping up, finally, triple captaincy. PRAS, would you advise managers to go triple captain Saka, or you think that triple captain is just Haaland?
I think it's just Haaland. I mean, the guy has scored hat tricks for fun, so he has one good home fixture. So you take the upside of that one fixture. I know the second one is difficult, but I think amongst all of them, I feel it has to be Haaland.
Okay. So it's Haaland. So no super differential. I say you're going Saka because Saka is playing Brentford and then still playing City. So it's just go with Haaland, right?
Yep.
Okay. So perhaps a very key comment from our class reference message says that the difference between our team and your team is that your team is the 3 or 4 game with long-term planning. And he says wondering if you need a wild catch. You know, I spoke about this thing. I think I've told you that I've been monitoring for a while now. I've been monitoring the very good guys. You, Litrizer, Baka, Zoff, and I'm just monitoring. I'm FPL, so I'm looking at how you play the game, and I'm trying to pick up some lessons from you. And what I see is that I am somebody I will take a -4 if I need to do. But I realize that most of you guys are always planning 3 weeks ahead, such that you try to minimize your -4, and it always gives you an advantage. And it's something I'm actually really looking at. A very key point you made on banning questions. I think the very first few episodes you told Sonado was asking a question. Andy was asking a question about what's your plan. And he said, "This is what I do. Normally, what I do is I look at my team and then make my wild card draft aside now, and then look at how close I can get towards that wild card team as quickly as possible via transfers. So much that is PRAS trick or PRAS. You want to elaborate upon that for us?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I always looked at how far is my current team to a team that I would make if I was wildcarding today. So going back to my team and my transfers, you asked me, I can easily do just Mahrez, Fernandes to Mahrez. But my point is that I will not, if I was making a wildcard team today, I will not have Mahrez in my wildcard team. I'll have Odegaard. And
Okay.
so will I have White in my team? No. So I'm trying to solve for how close can I get to an ideal team that will hold me true for the next 8-9 game weeks. So that's just the way I play, because I think you have to be close to what you think is the ideal template. Sometimes, look, you can get unlucky or lucky. This is still a game of chance to a large extent, but you can eliminate it by being a little bit more forward looking on what you need, because you don't want to land into 2 game weeks left and then or 2 game weeks to a double or a blank and then try to react. It's too late. So that's the way I would look at it. And the question on wildcard, I think that's a very good question, because the second wildcard is for me useless, because the second wildcard you should not need, because you have a lot of data, you have all the fixtures ahead of you. But the second wildcard is actually used as a strategic chip, which I have always used as a chip to dead end my team. So this year, let's say if I'm using the chip in Game Week 29, the wildcard chip, I will not only use it to make a team of 15, I will always also use it to dead end my team to blankers in Game Week 28, so that I can come out of that by wildcarding. Or I can use it in Game Week 33 by dead ending my team to Game Week 32, which is another blank. So I'm going to use the wildcard not just to pick 15 players that I want, also leading up to it for my planning. And that's the way I try to think about the wildcard.
So I think managers, I think what PRAS was talking about, that looking at how the blanks and the doubles follow each other. So in 28 we have blanks, and then just in 29 we have doubles. It's very difficult to navigate those two. And then in 33 we have a similar blank in 32, and then doubles afterwards, something like that. So the plan is that you dead end
34.
34. Okay, so you dead end your team to the blank game week, and then immediately afterwards you wildcard your team. And then that's the chip. And I think managers, for us, will surely give us some chip. You just want to finish 23, and as more information comes on blank game with 28, and then double game, and then we can map out our workout strategy. So now for 25 and 28, I think there might not be the need to use the chips as of now, right?
For 28, it doesn't look like it, because some big teams like Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea will have games. And maybe some upsets happen after game week 25. So at the moment, I think people need to be open about their strategy. Sure. You could look at dead ending in 28 and then wildcarding in 29. You could look to just navigate 28 and free hit in 29. You could look to wildcard before, because if Brighton get a double, maybe you can wildcard before. At the moment, it's so open. But between game week 25 and 26, when we have the FA Cup 5th round, that's when we'll have a full picture of game week 28. We'll also have a good idea about the blanks in game week 32. Then you can start doing your planning on what you intend to do. So there's lots of time to do that. I don't think we need to worry about that far off right now.
Sure, that is true. So that's to say that managers, there are a lot of opportunities to rise up the ranks. So just keep your chips in your pocket, and then as the information comes, you plan and strategize. Just as PRAS said, we haven't gotten to halfway stage of the FPL season, even though we are in double game week 22. We haven't gotten to the halfway stages. So there's still massive ranks to rise. So and as we've advised you, keep your transfers. Don't do any early transfers. Try as much as possible to get a bank your transfer to have 2 free transfers. So should any information come, you will be able to react in there. So Marlvin, anything to say that you think I might have missed? I was making any point there?
No, I think all has been said well said. So nothing really to add. I think maybe you might want to touch on a few of the comments.
Yeah, sure.
Coming up so that we can wrap up. Yes,
we can wrap up then. Sure. So this is the Ambassador Scout, where we take some Q&A there. So guys are asking, do we still believe in Salah? Salah is just for that double blank game with 25, just for that. And if that is you buying for that weekend, it goes out. And in every season, sometimes some teams have a renaissance. So we are all just monitoring, because fact is that if you look at the SGI charts, Liverpool are among the top 4 for attack. So even though they're not finishing the chances, it gets a point that they might turn the corner. So just even though we're not looking at them, managers should just be watching them in there as well. And if you join the league as now, you don't start from the bottom. You always start from wherever your points rank will put you there. So, Matthew, our classmate is very, very interesting. He says that, Raymond, are you going to end this tonight? You think we should consider this discussion to tomorrow morning as well? FPL is quite very interesting, and we are very, very glad to have PRAS in here. So, PRAS, Matthew GH is asking a question. He says that would you take a -12, or you rather play a wild card? Matthew,
if you're taking a -12, you've not planned properly. So that's the first thing. So look, I think wildcard is about 16 to 20 points. So
Sure.
-12 is still in the territory that may be played if you completely think that you have getting, let's say you're right now and showing up in Gameweek 23 without any Arsenal players, or you have only one City player, and it's necessary. So I think in that specific case, a -12 can work out. But as I said, I was not trying to be rude. I was saying, we knew about this double a long time. So if you reached here and you only have one Arsenal player, then you're taking a -12 because you didn't take the right steps. But sometimes injuries can happen. Sometimes things are not. So I think -12 is the max I would go to. Above that, I think the wild card is useful, and that would be my advice.
Sure. In fact, if you are taking a -12 as an enemy, you are not related to the FPL Ambassador show, because since you resumed after the World Cup in Gameweek 17, you have been talking about whatever is way ahead of us. If you have not been planning towards that, it means that you're actually not listening to what we are saying, and you are the reason why you are doing this show. So please, Matthew, classify it. Please, PRAS said that in case you have some injury, you can surely look at it. But anything beyond a -12, you better wildcard and then find a way to navigate the season via transfers as well. So I think those are the key points there. Marlvin, any other thing you think we just need to say before we wrap up, because you're wrapping up there? So captaincy is triple captain Haaland. If aside triple captaincy captain Haaland, no need going against Haaland. No differential captain. This is not the week to go against Haaland by PRAS.
I agree, but look, if you wanted to go ultra different, then Saka is not a bad shout as well. But I personally think that Haaland is better.
Marlvin, are you captaining Haaland, or you try and go Saka?
No, I'm not like that. Definitely. I'm not captain Haaland.
I'm not captain Haaland for a very long time, sure. And PRAS, I think before you go, I want to tell you you've spoken about Salah, captaining Salah then. Okay. So I have captained Salah on the 3 times that Haaland scored his hat-tricks.
Oh, no.
Yes, that's why I'm going back there. The 9-0 against Bournemouth, I captained Salah. The midweek game that Haaland was likely to be rotated, I captained Salah. Salah gave me just 2 assists, and then Haaland had a hat-trick. And against United, I captained Salah, and then Haaland this time didn't just get a hat-trick; he had a hat-trick and then double and then 2 assists as well. So that is why I've been way back. But due to quite some very good plan, I'm climbing, and I know that I'll surely climb to higher ranks as well. So I think I'm in a worse scenario than you. This is concerning Salah and then Haaland as well. But
you tell me if you're captaining Salah in 25, then I will avoid.
So my initial plan as of now, it does not have Salah in there. My initial plan is whether to look at Trent and then Bowen, because I think that West Ham might have some very good games there. But as I said, all plans are how do you call it? Are adaptable. So maybe when we get to game 25, I'll certainly send you a message or a tweet that I'm captaining Haaland and Salah or not, and you know whether to avoid him or not.
Great. I'll shift to Saka.
So managers, as you said, the 1,000 Ghana series is still out for grabs for managers. Anyone who wins, Marlvin, are we defining our 1,000 Ghana series, or just let managers take it this year?
Sorry, come again.
Are we defining our money? Are we winning the league and keeping our money, or we are letting US take the money and go this year?
I think what we decided that even if we win, we can't take the money. So it's still out of our hands. Yeah.
Yes. So that's it. Even though we want to win and then be the first, anyone who would be the first aside us surely has the 1,000. Last year went to New York Bannerman. I think he was top 4 in Ghana, the whole of Ghana last year. The code is there. Just subscribe, comment. Let's all go. We are doing this for managers, and we think that just a little token to just help you in whatever you are doing here. So it's been a very great and a very wonderful show. FPL Ambassadors. You can find us on Twitter at FPL Ambassadors. Brought to you by myself, Raymond Nketsiah at Ray Nkets, Rowland Ekuban at Rowland Ekuban, Marlvin Owusu at Mr. Owusu on Twitter, and to have the legendary PRAS FPL of the burning questions on fantasy football scouts and a panelist on the official FPL show also in our midst this week as well. Great. PRAS, thank you so very much for being with us here. I'm sure we'll surely meet one of these days or have one any special pod, and we really, really consider a great honor to have here. We know our guys in Ghana here are really, really happy to see you. I've been telling Marlvin that one of these days I'll be on the official FPL show, so you should just watch out. That's my target. I know I'll get there. Sure. And actually, we are planning on. I think Mark has spoke. I think Mark spoke. I think 2 years ago, Mark said something about the Fantasy Premier League committee. He was saying that it looks like the TV guys want to get FPL on board, but it looks like they are always not finding the best way to do it. I think Sky Sport has taken the move this year, whereby they are having the FPL shows. It's an area that managers are looking at, and we as content creators want to position ourselves in a very good way that across the whole world, as the game is growing. I started playing FPL in 2015, 2016. I think that were about maybe 5-6 million, but now we are above 11 million managers, and the game is ever increasing as well. So we want to position ourselves in a very good position that when such an opportunity comes, we do it for the fun of the game. It's not for anything, just for the beauty of the game to help managers get better at it at all. Marlvin, any word you want to say? Any key words you want to say to PRAS?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much, PRAS. Honestly, when I say you're an FPL celebrity, you really are an FPL celebrity. I think we are really honored to have you on the show. It's been fantastic. I think our people in the comment section are all saying it. Thank you so much for making the time out of your busy schedule just to be on the show with us today. And we just hope that we get to host you, get the opportunity of hosting you sometime in the future. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. I think you guys are doing a great job. It's a great show. So, best of luck to you guys, and happy to come back again whenever.
Sure, please. And we want to remind managers that we are thinking about doing an FPL meet in Ghana this year. I think that it's quite more common in UK and then Europe as well, but we are thinking about how to do that in Ghana. So managers, just watch out, and then if there's any idea you have, just reach out on DM and Twitter, and let's all. We want to go to the FPL community. It's now a global game, very, very huge as well. It's like that, and sometimes some press conferences you have some guys asking some FPL questions so you can get some tips from the coaches about which players and which players not playing as well. So the game is really, really growing. It's going to be even bigger than that as well. So managers, thank you so much for being with us and following us.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, which helps with all the algorithms for us to also go out there. So
sure.
Thank you, everyone.
And all the best to managers as well.
Hopefully next time I'll check your rank possibly on. I don't know whether you do it on Bending Question. I can't remember, but I'll see where I am come next game week. See whether I'm still ahead of you.
Still ahead of you. Okay,
definitely.
Definitely, and it's been a really, really great show for managers as well. PRAS, thank you very much. I think we'll end the show here. And all the best to managers for double game with 23. We'll be back next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. GMT for the FPL Ambassador show as we do it every week. Then, PRAS, thank you. Marlvin, thank you. We'll end it here. Managers, bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.